Grandma, happy birthday.
My granddaughter, Emily, excitedly celebrated my birthday with a cheerful voice. I had completely forgotten it was my birthday, so I was surprised but overjoyed. How lucky am I to have my granddaughter celebrate like this? As I thanked her over and over again, Emily laughed and said I was overreacting, but then continued.
I drew a portrait of you as a birthday present. It should be arriving soon. Look forward to it.
After hanging up the phone, I received a package from the delivery guy who came at just the right time, and I carried it to the living room with a light step. Though I felt a slight unease at how light the package was, I was still so excited that I couldn't contain my anticipation. I quickly opened the package. Huh? What's this? Inside was a small piece of paper. It was clearly not a portrait, just a printed sheet in an ordinary font. Still trembling, I held the paper in my hand, unable to hide my confusion. Little did I know that this single sheet of paper would lead to an unbelievable incident. I'm Karen Johnson. This year, I turned 65 and have been enjoying busy yet fulfilling days, working part-time and participating in local community events. Though I'm now living peacefully, there was a time when I fought against fate and lived with reckless determination. Especially when I was 20, I fell in love like never before. I met David, a man 2 years older than me, at the cafe where I worked. He always led me with the gentle confidence of someone older, yet sometimes showed a childish side that made me fall head over heels for him. Later, we got married, almost like we had eloped. 2 years later, we had a healthy baby boy. We named him Alex, and from a young age, he was quite the troublemaker. Without the support of our parents, we put all our energy into raising him. David, even as his work responsibilities grew and he got busier, remained dedicated to supporting and loving me and Alex. I respected and loved him deeply, and I did everything I could to support him. Every day spent with my beloved husband and our adorable son was filled with new experiences, and while it was tough, it was also happy and rewarding. David passed away 10 years ago. He left peacefully, surrounded by me and Alex, who had grown into a fine man and started his own family. Now 43 years old, Alex reminds me more and more of his father. There are moments when I see my husband's image in Alex's face as he watches over his wife, Lisa, and their daughter, Emily. Alex has also grown up to be kind-hearted like his father, and with his support, I've managed to overcome the loneliness of losing my husband. I'm sure I can live peacefully now thanks to Alex and his family. Even though we don't live together, I stay in frequent contact with Emily and the rest of the family. Just the other day, Emily called me, sounding excited. She told me that she's planning to apply to art school. This brought back old memories. Back when David was still alive. I remember Emily, as a little girl, lying by the window, sketching with a serious expression, while my husband sat on the couch, smiling as he watched her. Whenever Emily visited, it was a scene I could count on. And when she finished her drawing, she'd run straight to show it to her grandfather.
Grandpa, look! I drew the tree in the yard.
Wow, this is amazing. Emily, you're a genius.
He would look at her drawing intently, praising her with a proud smile every time. The warmth of those memories made me smile unconsciously. I wholeheartedly congratulated Emily and offered her words of encouragement for her new challenge. From an outsider's perspective, my life may seem nothing but happy, but there is one thing that's been bothering me lately. It's about Alex's wife, Lisa. Lisa became a stay-at-home mom when they got married, and she used to visit me often in place of Alex, who was always busy. She's a lovely person who always spoke clearly and treated me with kindness, never making me feel like a burden. But recently, something seems to have changed. Since the day I heard from Emily about her plans to apply to art school, Lisa has been coming over and asking me directly for money. She says that art school is expensive and they need more money to cover the costs. More and more, she's been asking for anywhere between $500 and $1,000, and it's starting to make me feel uneasy. However, whenever Lisa takes money from me, she always says as she's leaving,
Karen, I don't want to put any emotional burden on Alex or Emily. You'll keep this between us, right?
When she says that, I can only nod in silence. They are both such kind-hearted people, so if they knew I was giving financial support, they would definitely worry. Especially Emily, who's about to take her entrance exams. I don't want her to feel that kind of pressure. And honestly, having struggled without any help when raising my own child, I've always wanted to support Alex and his family as much as possible. So, whenever Lisa came by, which was about once a week, I handed over the money as she asked. Then, after more than 6 months of this, one day the phone rang. I quickly picked up the receiver. Today was the day Emily would find out if she passed her exams, and I had been anxiously waiting by the phone. I swallowed nervously, waiting for Emily to speak.
Grandma, I passed. I got into art school.
That's amazing. Emily, you're a genius. Congratulations. I could tell she had probably cried a lot out of joy and relief. Her voice was a little nasal, but she was genuinely happy and thanked me wholeheartedly for my support. Emily surely has a bright future ahead of her. I couldn't help but tear up as well, feeling like all the support I'd given had been worth it. Now that Emily's exams were over, I thought Lisa's requests for money would finally stop, and I put down the phone with a sense of relief. No matter how much I want to help my son's family, handling money within the family isn't always a good idea. And it's not like I have a lot of extra income myself. Whenever I give Lisa money, I have to cut back somewhere in my own life. So, in many ways, this seemed like a good place to draw the line. I felt a lightness in my chest as I sighed in relief. But my relief was short-lived.
Karen, I need about $1,000 this time. You can help, right?
The day after Emily's call, Lisa came by and once again asked for money. This time, I couldn't just comply immediately, so I asked her more firmly. Lisa, what's going on? The exams are over, aren't they? And $1,000 isn't something I can just hand over easily. At that, Lisa started sobbing on the spot. I was startled and looked at her face. Through her tears, she looked at me and said,
Even though her exams are over, we still need money for enrollment. I have no one else to turn to, and now you're being so harsh.
She kept saying things like that, subtly blaming me. I was so shaken that, in the end, I gave her the money. Once she had it, Lisa's mood seemed to change, and she turned to leave as if nothing had happened. I did have my doubts about her behavior, but as usual, I nodded in agreement when she asked me to keep it quiet. A few days later, I got another call from Emily. She excitedly wished me a happy birthday. I had completely forgotten about my own birthday, so I was surprised but overjoyed. How lucky am I to have my granddaughter celebrate like this? As I thanked her over and over, Emily laughed and said I was overdoing it, then added,
I drew a portrait of you as a birthday present. It should arrive soon. I hope you like it.
I was even more surprised and couldn't help but let out a silly squeal. Oh my, really? I'm so happy. I can't wait to see it. After a little more chatting, we ended the call. As if waiting for that moment, the doorbell rang. It had to be the gift Emily mentioned, and I was practically skipping to the door, my heart dancing with excitement. Sure enough, the delivery man was standing there with a package from Emily. I signed for it, unable to hide my smile, and took the package in hand. And that's when I gasped out loud. Oh, it's so light. Hearing that, the delivery guy tilted his head in confusion. I quickly covered it up, saying it was nothing. As I closed the door, I couldn't shake the strange feeling about how light the package was, but I carried it into the living room anyway. Despite the odd feeling, I was too excited to contain my anticipation. I immediately opened the package. Huh, what's this? Inside was a small piece of paper. It was definitely not a portrait, just a printed documents in a plain font. My hands trembled as I picked it up, unable to hide my confusion. Tuition payment request. I read the words aloud. At first, I couldn't process it, but gradually, the information sank in. It was unmistakably a tuition payment request for Emily's college enrollment. In a panic, I scanned the whole document. The due date was in 3 days. The amount was several times more than what Lisa had been asking for. There was no way I could just casually hand over that kind of money. But if I didn't pay within 3 days, Emily, who had been so excited about getting accepted, wouldn't be able to attend art school. I was stunned and looked away from the payment request. Then I noticed there was another piece of paper at the bottom of the box. It had been hidden under the first paper. I picked it up and quickly unfolded it. The message didn't make sense at first, so I read it aloud again. Dear Grandma, please transfer the money. Don't tell Dad or Mom. What? The sender was listed as Emily, but the handwriting was clearly different. Having kept every letter Emily had written me since she was little, I knew right away it wasn't hers. Besides, I couldn't imagine sweet Emily doing something so rude. So what in the world was going on? Holding the payment request and the letter, I rushed to the phone. My fingers shook as I dialed, and I held the receiver to my ear. After a few rings, Emily answered. She excitedly asked for my reaction to the birthday gift. That was it. I was certain this package wasn't from Emily. Trying to stay calm, I explained that I had just received the package, but inside, there was only a payment request. Emily was shocked and couldn't hide her confusion.
No way. I worked so hard on that portrait.
I know, but all I received was this payment request. Before I could finish, someone else interrupted the conversation. It seemed like Emily had called Alex over to listen. As Emily explained the situation to Alex, he grabbed the phone, his voice filled with concern. Is this for real? Alex asked, sounding stunned. I offered to take a photo of the papers and send them over. In a dazed voice, Alex responded.
But Mom, Lisa already paid for the tuition. I can't believe this.
What? Lisa paid for it. A terrible feeling washed over me. I snapped pictures of the box and the payment request and sent them to Alex. Within seconds, he read the message, and I heard both Alex and Emily gasp in horror on the other end of the phone. Then came Alex's loud voice calling for Lisa, and Emily's crying followed.
Lisa, what's going on here?
Why do you have that?
Mom, this can't be true.
Emily's voice broke into sobs, and the phone descended into chaos with Alex's shouts and Lisa's hysterical voice in the background. Worried about Emily, I called out her name several times, but eventually the call was cut off. Unable to call back, I spent the next few hours in restless anxiety. When the doorbell finally rang, I rushed to the door. Standing there was Alex, his face tense. Behind him was Emily, her head down, and Lisa, glaring at me. Unsure of what to say, I invited the three of them into the living room. As soon as we entered, Alex suddenly bowed his head toward me.
Mom, I'm sorry. I've caused you so much trouble.
I hurriedly told Alex to lift his head and asked for an explanation instead. With a stern expression, Alex began to speak.
As you've probably guessed, Emily had nothing to do with this. It was all Lisa.
I could hear Emily softly crying. Without thinking, I rushed to her side and gently rubbed her back. Alex continued his explanation. Apparently, Lisa had spent the tuition money that Alex had entrusted to her, and to cover it up, she came up with the idea of sending me the payment request disguised as a birthday gift. Knowing the amount involved, I was more shocked than angry at the thought of her spending such a large sum by herself. But seeing Emily, devastated and heartbroken, only fueled my growing anger. Seeing my stern expression, Alex said bitterly,
It's my fault for letting Lisa handle the tuition money.
I also left the shipping of the package to Mom.
I comforted Alex and Emily, telling them it wasn't their fault. Meanwhile, Lisa remained completely silent, showing not a shred of remorse. Noticing this, Alex sternly ordered Lisa to apologize. Only after Alex prompted her did Lisa finally open her mouth.
Karen, I wrote that letter pretending it was from Emily to keep you quiet, didn't I? But you went and told Alex anyway. This is all your fault.
Lisa,
Alex's shout shook the room. But Lisa remained unfazed, continuing to insist that since I had my husband's inheritance, it shouldn't matter if she took a little for herself. I was so stunned by her audacity that I momentarily forgot my anger. But then I had to ask the question that had been weighing on my mind. Lisa, what about all the money I've been giving you? Don't tell me you've been using it for yourself.
So what if I did?
what?
Alex screamed, his voice nearly a cry, as I explained that for months, Lisa had been asking me for money, supposedly for Emily's tuition and school expenses. Apparently, Lisa hadn't told Alex about any of this. Alex stared at Lisa in disbelief. While Alex was rendered speechless, Emily finally broke down and started crying, blaming Lisa.
Mom, what were you even trying to accomplish by using me like that? I couldn't even buy proper paints, canvases, or pencils.
With that outburst, the three of us demanded to know what Lisa had been spending the money on. For a while, Lisa resisted our questions, but eventually she gave in and confessed everything. she had blown the money at nightclubs. Under further questioning from Alex, it became clear that Lisa had racked up a huge amount of debt from her nights out at these clubs. Lisa, as if giving up, started talking rapidly, revealing everything. She had been lying about working night shifts, while in reality, she was spending her nights partying at nightclubs, living it up. And to cover her debts, she had used Emily's tuition money. The tuition money for my precious granddaughter's dream. My vision went red with fury, and I lashed out at Lisa. "Do you even understand what you've done?" But Lisa just laughed dismissively, fully defiant.
What's wrong with having dreams? I don't want to live a boring life like yours, Karen.
It was Alex and Emily who erupted in anger at those words.
I can't believe you'd say something like that.
Lisa, that's the last straw. I'm done with you. I'm filing for divorce.
Lisa's face instantly went pale, clearly not expecting Alex to threaten her with divorce. Her previous defiance vanished as she frantically apologized to Alex, begging him to reconsider. When Alex refused to listen, she turned to Emily.
Emily, you don't want your mom to leave, do you? Tell your dad not to do this.
But Emily, with a cold expression, replied,
I'd rather not have a mother like you. I'll be fine with just Dad and Grandma.
Upon hearing that, Lisa let out a hysterical scream and collapsed to the floor. She clung to Alex's feet, crying and desperately promising she'd never do it again, but Alex's resolve didn't waver. He told Lisa that she would have to pay back the money she'd spent and leave the house immediately. Instead of complying, Lisa grabbed a nearby vase and threw it at me. I narrowly dodged it, but Lisa kept grabbing whatever was nearby and throwing it at us. With our screams and Alex's shouts, the house has turned into a scene of chaos. Eventually, Lisa was removed from the house by the police Alex had called, and they took her in for questioning that night. When Lisa returned from the police station, she was handed divorce papers. Though she fought it for a while, it seemed that being detained by the police had shaken her, and she finally agreed to the divorce and to repay the money she had spent. While Lisa would receive some money from the division of assets and the divorce, most of it would be used to repay the funds she had squandered. In the end, she was left with almost nothing and was kicked out of the house. According to Alex, Lisa still had significant debt from her nightclub escapades and was being hounded by aggressive debt collectors. She was now working day and night to repay what she owed. Kind-hearted Alex felt guilty about it, but Lisa was no longer his responsibility. Everything that had happened was the result of Lisa's own actions. As for Emily's tuition, Alex managed to pull together the money in time, and the payment was made before the deadline. Emily would be able to attend her dream art school after all. Alex was deeply apologetic for putting Emily through such an ordeal, and for making me give money to Lisa, blaming himself for not seeing through her. Even though Emily and I did our best to comfort him, it was clear that it would take a long time for Alex to recover from the betrayal by someone so close to him. Today, I had invited Emily over after she had called ahead. With drinks in hand, we enjoyed a quiet, relaxed conversation, something we hadn't done in a while. It was almost time for Emily to head home when she suddenly looked serious and called my name.
Grandma, I'm sorry. I should have checked more carefully, and because of that, you got dragged into something awful.
No, Emily, you're not to blame. Besides, you went through so much pain yourself. So let's not apologize anymore.
Okay, Grandma. Oh, by the way, I brought this for you.
With that, Emily pulled 2 canvases from the paper bag she had been carrying. I looked at her, puzzled, but she proudly spread them out on the table. The moment I saw what was on them, I gasped. Oh my, this is... On the canvases were 2 beautiful paintings, one of me smiling alone, and the other of my late husband and me laughing together. I held the 2 canvases close and looked at them over and over again. Tears welled up in my eyes.
I painted these from my childhood memories and some old photos. Grandma, you were always the most beautiful when you were with Grandpa.
Thank you, Emily. I never thought I'd get to see David smiling again like this. Tears flowed freely down my face. Both paintings touched my heart in a way I couldn't put into words. Seeing my tears, Emily gave a shy smile. There are days when I wonder if it would have been better not to make that call and spare Emily all that pain. But in the end, I think this is how it was meant to be. Now, I can hold these heartfelt paintings in my hands. I promised myself that from now on, I would always support Alex and Emily, ensuring they lived happy lives, as I tightly hugged my new treasures to my chest.